is certain. In our personal lives, in companies and countries, a crisis will arise sooner or later. It is always unpleasant to face crisis, but its results may be improved if a good leader is facing the crisis. We have already talked that leading is taking one person or a group to think or act in a way that they would hardly do by themselves. But this directing can be good or bad, depending upon the principles that are embraced by the leader and, consequently, by his or her followers. Effective leaders, good or bad, can momentarily overcome a crisis. But only the good leaders overcome a crisis and choose a path that, in the long term, will prove to be the best. In companies and countries, crises may vary from short-term economic problems to general crises, like recessions and wars. Sometimes, leaders don't recognize an ongoing crisis, especially if one of his or her decisions has helped to create it or worsen it. There is always the temptation of sweeping it under the carpet. Recognizing a crisis publicly is fundamental to solve it, and it's one of the actions to be taken by a good leader. The first victim of a crisis is usually the truth, as communications are used to minimize the problem and maximize the importance and reach of eventual actions executed by the leader. That is why a speech such as the one of Winston Churchill, United Kingdom's Prime Minister in the Second World War, which mentions blood, toil, tears, and sweat, in a very frank manner, is so remarkable. It is an exception. A leader that speaks the truth and at the same time is capable of motivating his or her followers is very rare. The human tendency is pointing to scapegoats, sugarcoating, and escaping from the truth whenever is possible. Leaders are human beings and must try to avoid this tendency. Effective leaders in moments of crisis not always are that effective in moments of normality or tranquility. The characteristics that make them successful in crisis are often unwelcomed in moments when anti-crisis treatment is not necessary. In companies, innovative leaders who push their companies to grow at its creation may not be the ideal leaders in moments of market consolidation or crisis, for example, or in moments when the company needs to change its strategy and shrink. Insisting in keeping the same leader for too long in a scenario of constant change is not a good idea. Speaking the truth and at the same time keeping the followers' motivation high requires courage, which will be the subject of our next video. Until then,